Well, happy New Mud Eve to everybody. It's that time of year here. It is New Year's Eve. This mud has been here for 2 weeks now, and I mean just consistently terrible rain, and there's been hardly any sun at all. That makes this time of year pretty crappy for all of us. But pretty much anywhere you walk on a farm, this is what you get, unless you stay in the yard, and then it just doesn't come up as far. So this is just a feeding area, of course. That's why it looks like a sacrifice area, because essentially it is. But this is what we're contending with, and this will probably go till about April. So to recap 2023, we've got a lot done here. We've got 3 new paddocks built for the pigs. The one for the grow outs here. We got this one here for Coke. And then we did the one for Boris right at the beginning of the year. And that's where we had him and the 2 females at once they bred. And then we moved the females down here, and now the 2 sows and Pee Wee are all together, because once we sold off the 2 little boarlings that Peppa had left, I just went ahead and opened up the gate here between the paddocks, that little gate, 4-foot gate right there, and took her about 4 or 5 days. She finally did come out, and once she did come out and joined Coke over here, then I closed the gate and locked it up. Let that farrowing pen recuperate for the winter. All this lovely red clay here is just yuck. It's terrible. So they're all eating over here now. They've all kind of joined in with Pee Wee. A lot of contention going on between them now, because who's going to be the dominant one, and it's always a toss-up between the 2 big sows. They are kind of playing nice right now. They're letting Pee Wee eat. That's a good thing. I usually try to separate him from them with this bowl over here, but of course you can see Coke. She is the literal food hog of the bunch. Peppa's doing all right. She's still a little crabby, aren't you? Pee Wee's overeating. That's a good thing. So they like to come in here. This is the original pen that we raised them in, Peppa and Coke, when we first got them, until they got used and trained to electric and everything. So they like to come back in here. I leave it open for them. They have water, they have food and everything here. So again, the farrowing pen is going to recuperate. I'll replant, I'll overseed in the spring and get that planted up real good. Maybe even get the tractor in there and kind of grade it down a little bit, get all those hoof prints and stuff out of there. Boris is just being Boris. He's the easiest one of the bunch to take care of. As long as you feed him, give him a good back scratch, he's good to go. All right, so for 2023, 3 new paddocks built. The greenhouse, well, the high tunnel, and I'll generically refer to that as a greenhouse just because that's the word that wants to keep coming out of my mouth. So the greenhouse and the well were one of those projects that we had discussed, and when we filled out the application and stuff, we were very impressed and surprised to find out that it went through as quick as it did, and we got approved for it. So we went ahead and just thought, let's do it. So the well was done. After the well was done, we had to run electric from the house to the building and then down to the well, and all that got done. USDA come over, opened up the hydrant, seen the water flow and reimbursed us the money. We turned right around and bought the greenhouse. Now, since the last video of the greenhouse where I showed you we got the uprights in, we've made no more progress on it, and it's just because of the weather. It's pretty much consistently rained almost every day. We've had about 2 whole days where it didn't rain, and we actually did have a little bit of sunshine, but the mud over there is so bad, and of course it's all red clay, and as soon as you step into that stuff, if you're not stepping out of your boots, you're doing splits, and I'm too big a boy to be doing splits because I am not that daggone limber anymore. So we've kind of held off on that. If we can get a good freeze, I got some round bales down at the bottom of the property. I'm gonna go get one and bring up here and just roll it out around up there where we will be working. But to do it right now, it's just there's so much mud, I'm just going to create more of a mess. So that project is kind of on hold right now until we get some, and freezing temperatures at this point would be better weather than what we've had. But on the end facing the house, the end that we were working on, we got the uprights in. The only thing we got to do on that end now is just put the horizontal braces in. And so we're going to measure and cut and have to cut all those and then get them installed. That's probably a good full day of work left there to do that. And then we'll hang the door, get all that hardware done and everything like that, and then we'll go to the other end and we'll do the same thing. But again, until it freezes, that mud is just preventing us from doing anything at this point. So coming into the new year, our main goal or our main priority is going to be to get that greenhouse finished. We'll probably start our seedlings, putting seeds in soil and stuff in the house probably about mid to end of February and everything, just to kind of get things going. If we can get that greenhouse done by the end of March, we can go ahead and start planting. Where typically here, we don't plant until after Memorial Day weekend. Some people do, and they get by with it, but there's risk of frost all the way up until the end of Memorial Day weekend. So we typically wait to plant everything outside until then. So that's going to be the top priority. We'll get that done, and then we can hopefully get the planting in there and get our crops growing in there. And I mean, there's still a lot to do. So, I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping and praying that we can get her done. So we're going to try to keep our projects to what we have this year, all except for one. And the one is going to be, I really want to get another paddock built that goes out across from where Boris is now, goes up the hill and gets a good portion of those woods involved so that we can get pigs in there at a later date. Now, we haven't even planned on breeding for 2024 yet. Looking at the timeline with everything that we got going on, I don't want that to be something that's going to kind of alter a lot more of our plans that we want to get done this year. Also, with the egg layers that we have, all the mixed breeds and stuff, with the Niederrheiners, the Delaware broilers, the dark Cornish, the American breast, we haven't even started a crossbreeding on them yet to get them separated out, pick my top roosters and my top hens and start that. And I'm probably not going to do that until the weather gets a little better. Maybe, closer to spring, we'll maybe start that and see if we can get some of that stuff started. We have decided we're going to bring one of two, we haven't decided yet, new meat birds on the farm this year. So I'm still looking at, there is a hatchery, it's called Freedom Ranger Hatchery. They have what's called the Freedom Ranger Collar Yield, which is a dual purpose bird, but it's a meat bird and it grows about 2 weeks slower than the Cornish cross would. But it's a better forager, it's a more hardy bird. And after this last round of Cornish cross, while they are typically a good bird, they grow quick, I'm having my reservations about the genetics and stuff like that at this point, because this last batch was a complete and total loss. I mean, other than what we're going to eat of them, we spent a hell of a lot more in feed and time than we're ever going to get out of them, other than the nourishment they're going to provide to us. Now that's almost a catch-22, because they are still providing nourishment for us. But I want to look at a more hardy bird. That same hatchery also has what's called a white ranger that is closely related to the Cornish cross, but it is a more hardy bird and it's ready in 7 to 8 weeks, whereas the collar yield is probably 10 to 12 weeks, in that range. And we will be starting a lot later in the summer with them, probably more towards the end of June, because we have some plans coming up in the early summer and everything like that. And I'm not going to take away from my family. We're going to make sure that we do what we've planned to do and everything. So, like I said, that's why we're going to start later. I may do one, maybe even 2 runs. We're just going to have to see where we're at, depending on which breed I decide to go with. If we go with the White Ranger and we get good results with that, they look like they're doing good earlier on, then I'll go ahead and probably order maybe a second run for the end of the year or end of the season, because within 8 weeks I can have them done in October and just be done. I definitely don't want to take them out clear up to Thanksgiving like we did with this last batch. Behind the big tractor here, between the equipment building and the chicken coop and the chicken run, that's where we had the squash and the pumpkins and everything growing this year. If finances allow, we're going to pour a concrete pad there and have a new building built, and that's going to become mainly my feed building, where I can put, instead of having all my feed out here in the open area of the equipment shed on pallets, I can get it stacked in there, out of the weather, where this is out of the weather, but weather can still blow in. I can get that big old deep freeze out of the building up there where I keep the egg layer feed in, get it down there and open up more space to get more stuff stored and out of, the junk pile that we pretty much have at this point in that little building up there. So being able to add that's going to allow us to, like I said, get a little bit more organized this year, get things straightened up, make more room for other stuff that we currently have. It's just all stacked and piled and everything. And if you own a farm or a homestead, you don't get rid of anything pretty much. I mean, you hold on to things that you think you can reuse in the future. Maybe it's 20 years down the road. Hey, I'm glad I kept that because I can use that. So, but we're going to try to get a little bit more organized and get some more additional storage space and everything. I could go with the shipping container, but I'd much rather go with a building that's got a garage door. I can put the little Kubota, not this one, but the little Kubota mower in there. I can put my side-by-side in there and still have plenty of room with all the feed and some other stuff in there that would typically just be leaning against the wall in here, or piled up in a corner, stacked up and out of the weather. So more organization, more focus on the current projects that we have, get them done to completion, then we'll look at some other stuff. I really need to get the dozer running. There's still some work to do on it. If we get that thing running, then when we build the new paddock, I can cut some lanes down through it, and that way we can rotate the pigs, start them at the far end, and then bring them towards the front throughout the season and everything like that. Let them do the work in there, not come in behind them, clean them up and reseed before it gets into cold weather. So that's kind of like the recap of 2023 and the plans for 2024. Again, you know, I've gotten in over my head. I'll be the first to admit it. I've gotten in way too far over my head and haven't been able to complete or meet some of the goals and stuff that I've set for myself. And I know better than that because I know the weather here. I've lived here all my entire life, so I know the weather and how unpredictable it is, and the fact that mud makes everything 10 times much more harder. But that's going to be our focus for 2024. I am going to try to get another video out here in the near future. The additional property that we bought that adjoins us over here in 2019, I think it's going to make a really good topic because there's going to be a lot of changes on it coming up in the spring. So watch for the next video on that. I'll get that out. It'll probably be a fairly long video, but that's just because it's going to cover the area and stuff that it is. And for West Virginia folks, this would be very interesting to you if you're familiar with coal mines and old mine land and stuff like that, because that's what that big portion of that is. So I'll get that on here and give you guys a rundown on it and see what we're going to be looking at in the near future. Anyways, more focus on current projects for 2024. Get them as much of that done as we possibly can. Keep that focus before we get too deep into anything else. So Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully we can make it a better year than 2023. Keep our focus on the projects that we currently have that we need to finish. And then just once everything else is done, we can move on to the next one and try to keep things a little bit more organized this year. So Happy New Year. God bless you and your family. Get and stay prepared, stay free, and God bless y'all.